So first we're going to hit Shift A, add mesh, go to icosphere, give it 5 subdivisions, right click and shade smooth. Then you'll hit Shift A, add a light, point light, grab it, move it on the X a little bit, move it up on the Z, just above the camera, move it over on the Y slightly, go to the settings for the light, change the watts to 1000. Next, hop into camera view, select your camera, change the focal length to something about a 100. I went to 102. Then if we switched over to your EV settings, make sure you have ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections enabled, and then you should be good to go. Then head over to the shading workspace. Make sure you have this dropdown selected to object. Over here, I just have my 3D viewport. Make sure you switch it to rendered preview. You can do this in cycles or EV. I'm doing it in EV, but this material works in both. Next, you'll want to hit new material. We're going to call it eraser rubber. You can call it whatever you like. This is what I'm choosing. Then we're going to want to hit Shift A, search for a noise texture. We have it right here. Next, you want to make sure you have the Node Wrangler add-on enabled. So hit Edit Preferences, search for Node Wrangler, and check the box next to it when you find it. Then you'll click your noise texture, press Ctrl T, and we're going to be leaving the generated output for the mapping on this one. You can use object if you like, but generated is what we'll be using in this tutorial. Next, we're going to want to hit Shift A and we'll add a color ramp. Then we'll plug the factor from the noise texture into the color ramp. Then on this noise texture, we're going to change some values. We're going to change the scale to a 500, the detail to a 16, and then the roughness, we're going to put it at 0.6. Then if we Control Shift and left click on this color ramp, we can see what the material is doing with the noise texture. And what this is going to be is it's going to be our color. So we're going to hit the plus sign right here and add a third color. So now that we have 3 nodes, I'm going to go ahead and have an image on your screen right now, and it's going to show you the hex values and the positions of each of these nodes. And so you can just go ahead and plug those in and tweak them as you wish. So as I said, this one's going to be position 0, this one's going to be position 1, this one's 0.677. And then now that you've plugged in the hex values, you can tweak the colors a little bit on the color wheel if you like, but this is what I'll be using for the tutorial. Next, we're going to want to hit Shift A and search for another color ramp. Go ahead and turn caps lock off. And then I'll change this, put this color from the previous one into the new color ramp. If we Control Shift left click, this is going to be our roughness map. And so we don't want it to be too shiny, so we're going to be switching this black, going over to the HSV, switch the value to a 0.5. Then on this white, we're going to switch the value to a 0.75, like so. Then we can go ahead and take the color from the color ramp and plug it into the roughness of the shader. And if we Control Shift left click and preview the shader, this is what it's looking like at the moment. And so we can just take the color from the colors and plug it into the base color. And this is currently what it's looking like. And if we go to the camera view, this is what we have right now. Next, we need to add the bump. So to do that, we'll hit Shift A and search for another noise texture. Then we'll take the vector from the mapping and plug it into the noise texture. Then we'll press Shift A and add a color ramp. And plug the factor from this noise texture into the color ramp. If we Control Shift left click, preview the color ramp, we'll be switching the scale on the noise texture to a 250, the detail to a 16, and the roughness we'll leave it at 0.5. Then on the values here, we're going to move this black to a 0.2 and the white to a 0.8, just to add some more contrast in the bump. Then to convert it to bump, we'll hit Shift A, search for a bump node, take this color, put it into the height, take the normal, plug into the normal, then we're going to take the strength and we're going to move it down all the way to a 0.05 because erasers are pretty smooth, they're not very bumpy, so it's going to be very low. Now we Control Shift left click and preview the material. So this is what the material is currently looking like. It's currently pretty dark, and to be fair, this lighting is not very bright. So if we want to preview what it's looking like in a brighter environment, we can go ahead and turn off Scene World here. And this is what it looks like outside. So if we want something more indoor but 3D lighting, we can switch this down to like 0.4. And this is what it's looking like with like half of outside, basically, is what it's saying. And if we go ahead and up the world opacity, this is sort of what the environment it is in is like. Switch to a 1, the strength, it's this bright, and sort of you can get a good range of what it should be looking like based on how bright you put your environment. And so yeah, but anyways, that is what the finished material looks like in a 3D environment. And so yeah, hopefully you enjoyed and you can make some cool pencils with this. And I'll see you in the next one.